about your singing voice, you even stated that you knew you weren't the vocal favorite of Destiny's Child. Is that something that, what made you second guess?
You know what? It's not that I was second guessing. I'm just aware. You know, some people are like, oh my gosh, it stuck. They said it stuck with her. No, it didn't stick with me. You know, just sometimes you're aware that you're not everybody's favorite. And that's okay. I still got paid.
Okay. Let them know.
I hear that. I'm just saying, I'm aware. I'm aware. But I didn't lose sleep. I wasn't, that was not contributing to sadness of mine. I'm just aware.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I got you.
You getting mad, you getting paid.
What's up, everyone? It's Books&Looks TV. Today I'm going to be talking about Michelle Williams and how she exemplified what it means to be like awkward in the spotlight, and how I feel that the public was a bit hard on her, and how we don't really allow Black women to be anything but strong. So I've always loved Michelle Williams. Growing up, she felt familiar. She was a natural Black woman in an industry obsessed with polish. A little shy, soft-spoken, but she still showed up.
I was in one of the most iconic girl groups and no one recognizes me.
Michelle! Michelle! You spit that out! Huh? Naughty Michelle! Naughty Michelle! Michelle, naughty!
Who calls their dog Michelle?
Sorry, but are you Michelle Williams?
Yes.
Yeah. Drop your wallet.
In a Hollywood filter through rose-colored perfection, Michelle felt real to me, and that mattered. Looking back, I think people were far too hard on her. So today, I want to give Michelle Williams her flowers and talk about what it means to be an awkward Black woman who navigated fame, expectation, and mental health struggles that the world never made space for, yet still judged her.
I had to transform myself. It was hard wearing the different types of clothes, and I showed a little bit of cleavage.
She was fine. It took her a while, but she's got it now. So I'm like, all right.
Let's be honest, anyone standing next to Beyonce is going to be judged. But Michelle Williams didn't walk into Destiny's Child chasing the spotlight. She already had a career. She was a professional who was a backup singer and who stepped into a group that had been revamped repeatedly and simply found her place. And I'd argue something people don't like to say out loud. Without Michelle, there may not have been a Beyonce solo career as we know it, at least not one that launched so smoothly. At a time when the internet was new, blogs were unchecked, and fans were already blaming Beyonce for lineup changes, Michelle brought the calm to the group. She brought innocence. She stayed in the background without resentment, without competing, without demanding attention. As Michelle herself once said, she showed up, did the work, and still got paid. However, onlookers, especially a lot of Black women, often call Michelle a fuck up. Michelle seemed to be lost on stage or not in sync with the perfection of Kelly and Beyonce, who had performed since they were children together. There was her falling on 106 in Park, going the opposite directions at times, even a Super Bowl. And there were comedy skits of Destiny's Child and even Keisha Cole publicly humiliating her. Michelle didn't seem too bothered though. Yet when Destiny's Child had a small break, she tried navigating to gospel music, and it seemed that Christians alike would still judge her. I remember like people on the radio talking about her, people on the internet judging her, yet seeing like R&B artists or trap artists transition into gospel music, but not being judged as hard as Michelle Williams. So let me talk more about that. When Michelle Williams announced plans to release a solo gospel album, the reaction was noticeably restrained. For some audiences, they felt that Destiny's Child was too sexualized and didn't align with the Christian faith, so a lot of people were uncomfortable. Even Gospel Today noted that while God judges the heart, people often judge outward appearances. Michelle firmly rejected the idea that her faith was compromised, explaining that she had always chosen modesty when possible and remained secure in her salvation regardless of public opinion. Raised in Rockford, Illinois, Williams grew up deeply immersed in the Church of God in Christ, where church involvement was non-negotiable. Her musical foundation began early, with her first solo at age 7, inspired by gospel greats like Yolanda Adams, Kirk Franklin, and Marvin Winans. Though active in church groups, she once believed her talent would remain local until Chance led her to background vocals for artists like Monica, and ultimately an audition that brought her into Destiny's Child. Despite being bullied in her youth for being studious and unique, Michelle views her journey as divinely guided. She maintains that all members of Destiny's Child were practicing Christians who prioritized faith even while touring. Recording Hard to Yours represented a spiritual calling rather than a career pivot. The album, she said, reflected healing, trusting God's protection, and a deliberate choice to honor her gospel roots at the height of her mainstream success. Later on, Michelle Williams would reunite with Destiny's Child for their final album, Destiny Fulfilled, which I would argue has some Christian themes on a few songs, particularly the song Through With Love, which acknowledged having love through God rather than chasing romantic relationships. I think what is also admirable that later Michelle Williams would acknowledge that she struggled with mental health that existed before Destiny's Child.
I remember telling our manager at the time as well, hey, I think I'm dealing with some depression, and he wanted me to see the brighter side of things. No, y'all are about to go on tour. Y'all got Barbie dolls. What are you talking about? Y'all just signed a crazy big deal with Columbia. I could see myself in a pit trying to get out, just feeling so heavy that when I would make one step, the weight would just pull me back down, and the weight just felt more comfortable than healing.
Then in 2005, a world-shattering moment. Destiny's Child announcing they would go their separate ways.
It's a loss, and maybe I didn't know how to grieve that loss properly. And maybe I carried a lot of that pain and trauma with me for a number of years. I was like, uh-oh, are you gonna have to go to AutoZone to sell windshield wiper fluid now?
She was devastated, but soon found her own path. Today, Michelle remains steadfast in her daily road to healing.
It's been taking the weekly therapy sessions, working out, eating good, surrounding myself with loving people.
She hopes her honesty can be a guiding light for others.
I'm thinking about my journey, but I'm also thinking the safety of this interview. And how many people don't have that, because a lot of people are exploited or taken advantage of, and they don't have a safe place to talk about their process and their journey. I feel even more cemented in my purpose, and I'm on a mission to help as many people as I can.
And this was at the height of her career and will give some insight on why she seemed a bit out of it during some of her performances. So now I'm going to play some public opinion, and then I'm going to conclude.
So I have seen comments similar to this, and I have to agree that Michelle does not get the love and recognition that she truly deserves all the time. I will say, though, I have seen a lot of positive comments about her on Broadway. I have seen, especially on X or Twitter, them talking about her bridges being iconic and her being a staple within the DC harmonies. So I do think that there are some positive comments that are being made. It just gets overshadowed by the negativity, unfortunately. What I really need people to understand is there are different vocal techniques, vocal styles, and vocal tones. And Michelle has a very unique tone that is buttery, it's soft.
I believe that in my life I will see. Have a holly jolly Christmas. It's the best time of the year. After all of the darkness and sadness, soon comes happiness. Fulfill your every desire.
It oftentimes, these comments that are uneducated come from people that have never studied music and or can't sing for themselves. So I kind of take their comments with a grain of salt, and I just try to share positivity when negativity is running amok. But I agree, they do treat Michelle probably the worst out of everybody, and this is probably the time where us as the fans and music lovers educate people about how talented these black women really are.
Michelle Williams isn't, you know what I'm saying? She not the dance girl.
Michelle had personality. Michelle had a mouth that was too slick. You can't tell me different, baby. If you look closely at like Destiny's Child's shadiest moments or like Beyonce's shadiest moments, the clips of Michelle didn't give a damn if you were Beyonce, if you were Matthew, if you were an interviewer that was getting on her nerves. She was gonna let you know in one way or another. She had the best bridges. You can't tell me she didn't have the slickest mouth and the slickest reads out of all the Destiny's Child. But I like that because she didn't have that media training as long as Beyonce, Kelly, LaToya, and Tavi did since they was kids. So she came off, in a sense, slightly more organic, slightly more real, more accepting of her flaw, more accepting of whatever emotion she was feeling at the time. It gave a perfect contrast to what the cookie cutter Destiny's Child was prior to her joining the group. Like, go watch the interview between Destiny's Child and Blackwood, and you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. There's a emotions performance where Beyonce was clearly getting on her nerves and vice versa, and Michelle subtly let her. She wasn't scared of nobody.
Please tell me y'all remember when Keisha Cole thought she was gonna play with Michelle Williams.
Hey, let me do y'all one better. Do y'all remember that Destiny's Child performance where Beyonce was singing and she looked at Michelle like, and Michelle was singing and she looked at Beyonce like, hey, that's that Chicago stuff because Beyonce or not, you was not gonna play with her.
Well, first of all, y'all not gonna keep doing Michelle. Michelle is the bridge queen. Some of the best, like I'm sorry, the Michelle Williams disrespect. All right, producer,
It's crazy.
Look at me, it's crazy. Michelle Williams has, at least in 5 Destiny Child songs, at the bare minimum, top 5, she has the best parts of those songs. The bridge queen, Michelle Williams, made a lot of those songs. Now, does Beyonce do her thing on those songs? Yes. Did Kelly do her things? Yes. But she made the song. Cater to You, Michelle made that song.
Even though that video did her end dirty.
Survivor, Michelle made that song. I could go to so many emotions.
As the deaconess Michelle Williams once said, after all of the darkness and sadness, still comes happy. Hey! And when I surround myself with positive things, I gain Girl, I'm about to catch it.
I'm having an interview. I'm talking with him, and before you know it, I said, oh, I've been struggling with depression. But I thought at that time, that's not going to make the interview. That's just going to be edited out. No, it was print, too. It was in print. And I was like, when it came out, I said, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? It went everywhere. The ticker tapes on CNN, the lower thirds, and I was like, what did I do? That was me admitting that, yeah, I've been doing all these things on all these awesome platforms, but the official diagnosis came around that time, but it was something that I've been carrying since around the 7th grade. But as far as my mental health journey, publicly, in 2013, and when men were coming up to me, thanking me for telling my story, I said, I'm going to tell it. But we are also taught to sweep stuff under the rug. And when people come up to you and say, thank you for sharing, or you've given me language, I'm not your doctor, I can't give you a diagnosis, but people are saying, you gave me language. Even if you haven't dealt with depression or anxiety, listen, some of us grew up with parents that affirmed you. A lot of y'all, your cups are filled, and that is amazing. But I hope it gives you language on how to deal with people in your life whose cups aren't as full as yours. I'm thankful for a mentor from the Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and Boys and Girls Club. I'm thankful for that person, because I don't know how I would have gotten through the 7th and 8th grade years without Mr. Gilbert. I don't know how I would have gotten through without seeing Karen Portis in the hallway yelling at us to get to our class. Silently, it literally is silent. It literally is silent. And then you start realizing you're choosing out of deficit. Relationships, opportunities. You're choosing out of a deficit versus, let me help y'all get you the language so you can get your cup full. Right. So that when you're ready to make a decision, a beauty decision, an opportunity,
you're making it not out of desperation or a deficit. You're making it out of a full cup.
So I'm going to cite this by You Are the Best Thing. It says, my problem, I guess, is that I don't think being crazy should stop us from being compassionate and actively regretful about structural or interpersonal harm we've caused. My friends who have been diagnosed as Dr. Crazy say it's Black crazy to think like this. I say that I don't think we've really considered who's Dr. Crazy shields them from consequences and whose Black crazy is fuel for disciplining and humiliation. Overall, I think that Michelle Williams deserved grace because she was talented and so unproblematic. And I think she's also proof that you never know what people are going through. And I really admire also what my mother told me when I was growing up. She told me to always be kind to strangers because everyone is dealing with a battle. And also at any time someone can snap. But nonetheless, overall, I think that Michelle Williams is an example that Black women don't always have to be strong and that we don't always have to be perfect. And I really admire her beauty. I admire her wittiness. And I admire her for being awkward at a time when I was a younger Black woman trying to navigate my space into like being quirky or unique. Nonetheless, what is your favorite Destiny's Child song? And what is your favorite bridge or verse or hook by Michelle Williams? Let me know down below. And thank you so much for listening to Books and Looks TV. I'll see you next time.